tell me about Michel Parmigiani. Let's start with this.
Well, first of all, I will thank you for this introduction. I'm very pleased how you summarized the soul of our brand in such clarity and such deepness. So thank you for that. And it's a pleasure to welcome you here in Florien and talk about our philosophy of looking at time and beauty. You asked a very important question. Every brand starts by its founder, and its founder is like a father, like that gives the imprinting to a child. And the values that Michel brought to this brand are his persona. I had the chance to meet him the second or third day that I was in the company, and I had never met him before, even if it was 20 years that I was in the industry. And he surprised me for his modesty in terms of as in terms of a person of substance, because he has nothing to be modest about, and his kindness. He's a person who does not want to appear. He's a person who wants to sign his passage in his life through his acts, and his acts are very deep because he's not a superficial person. He's a very deep person. He goes into the why of things. And I think he devoted his whole life to perpetuate the mechanical art, which was a craft that in the 70s, when he started, was disappearing because everybody was going quartz. And he thought that there was going to be a patrimony who was going to be lost. And so he started restoring ancient clocks. And by doing that, he acquired a knowledge, cultural knowledge before of a technical knowledge that gave him a sensitivity like very few people have on the aesthetics of a watch and its technical features combined together to have the more enduring pleasure you can possibly imagine. He has been working on watches that have centuries. So if people want to bring to life and keep working clocks that have over 100 years or 200 years, you can imagine that those pieces are valuable to keep alive, no? And that's what moves his brand. And when he started, it was 1996. It was the end of the quartz crisis, so the knowledge of the community of watchmaking was not as it is today. 30 years ago, few people knew what was a true mechanical watch, and his mission was really to state that, to do a brand that could celebrate the craft, his heritage, applied to an aesthetic that was for connoisseurs. There's never been a brand about being seen. It's always been a brand of knowledge. You express knowledge by wearing a Parmigiani on your wrist, and this is something that is at the heart of our brand, and that comes from him.
What mm, what me fascinated with Michel, it's something that is again like Parmigiani, not so obvious. So we have here some coherence, but in the end, like to restore watches, like these are, like you said, century-old timepieces. So in order to restore time, you also have to have an understanding of the time where it was literally created. So the cultural time and why things were there and how they work. And when we are talking, maybe because not everyone knows it who's watching this video, but it's not like small watches like these that he restored. It was like
Pocket watches,
big,
clocks, of
exact,
course.
bigger complications
Mhm.
and also mechanism. In the end, it's and art of engineering work
Mhm.
that comes also from a different time.
Yep.
So in order to do that, um, he had to be also like a researcher. He had to go back in time. He, like you said, he would need to require deep understanding first of all, and then also the technical knowledge. So it's a mastery of multiple domains that came here at place. And he started this at the age of 20, 25,
25, yes.
25. So there is someone who devoted his life in a time where it was not in fashion, let's say, and who stayed true to the course,
Mhm.
which I think is quite incredible because it says a lot about the character of a person to do that. And it's a little bit like in order to do that, you have to go like absurd hero way, because like you have to find meaning in the things that you do in order to have enough energy as a human being to contain this past. Because I would think it wasn't an easy road on the other hand, always. And so there's a person who devotes his life to mechanical art. He starts with 25, um, and he's continued to pushing this and lives life by his own values, by not following the flow, but doing his own thing in this. And then in 1996, he launched Parmigiani. How came?
Well, it came through the acquaintance of the Sando family. So the Sando family is at the origin of the family foundation, Sando Family Foundation, and had an enormous private collection of ancient watches that Michel had restored for many, many years. And the family asked him if he wanted to do a brand with his name, and they would have financially backed him up with the first objective to perpetuate the know-how. You talked about all the qualities that you need to have to be a restorer, but restoration and the art of mechanics is also possible through people. So also the human relationship with artisans, with a network of artists, because at the end they are not industrial people. They are people who put their hands, and they're called les mains d'or in French. Main d'or means the golden hands. When you have the les mains d'or, you're doing something that you're almost in a trance state in which, in which everything is possible. No?
Mm.
And when you speak about with people who are in restoration, they will always tell you that there is an emotional tension which is very, very heavy to bear because you are working on something that you cannot redo. Okay, so if you're repairing something that is a unique piece, you cannot do a mistake. You can, otherwise your sign of passage will be there, and you have left your mark, which you shouldn't be seeing when you're a restorer. You should be giving a second life to a work of somebody else, but your passage shouldn't be there. Michel always says, 100 years from now, you don't want to restore my work, you want to restore Breguet's work or another creator that I was a repair. And this is to me extremely fascinating because the emotional pressure that you have in restoration is such that you need a break sometimes. We have two people in the restoration, a man and a woman, Francis and Christy. And Christy told me at in the beginning of my stay in the brand how she felt oppressed by this heavy burden to take psychologically to do this restoration work, and she passed a difficult moment in her life personal, and she asked Michel if she could be placed only on grand complication instead of doing restoration so she could take a break. And when she told me this, I said, "Oh, what do you mean, you want to go on doing grand complication to do something easy?" And I said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." And like yes, and this gives you the, as I say, the human let's say element in this work.
Yeah.
And you cannot do everything by yourself because you can imagine how many finishings you get in touch in the whole history of watchmaking, where it's a dial, a case, a movement. So you have to have a contact with a group of people who are extremely at the top of their work and that can work on ancient pieces properly. And Michel is a bit like, I don't know, a Formula 1 pilot. If a driver, if Ferrari calls, I mean, they go. And when Michel calls for a restoration, you have immediately a response because you are with the living legend of this craft. But Michel always says that restoration is not something to be stuck in. And this is very important in the mindset of Michel, because if you want to continue the art of mechanics, the art of mechanics is not a replica of itself. The art of mechanics is seen as an evolution of what you can do. So if you take his early works, like the first Bugatti, now the Bugatti edition that he did in the early 2000, it's an application of all the knowledge that you have in traditional mechanics to do something completely innovative, to put transversely a movement on a wrist, like if it was a cam sequence of an engine, is something that you do to express an emotion, to do something surprising, to do something functional, to wearing a watch while riding with your steering wheel, but you do it through the respect of the craft of a traditional mechanical art. So this innovation that you have is an innovation with constraints because you cannot do everything. That's why quartz didn't make it. I mean, quartz was cheaper and was more precise. It's not fascinating. Or a smartwatch can sell millions of watches. It didn't even tickle the performance of mechanical watches. So these are other ways of having something on your wrist, but the mechanical art has rules that you have to respect, but you also have to challenge in the way that you're moving forward. And this is Michel, and this is what we're trying to do since in his name. We're continuing to build his legacy under the name of Michel Parmigiani with everything that is more in sync with today's world.